Welcome everybody to a shot between the reels. It's two guys having a very frank discussion about movies. I'm Dan, and over here is Mr.
Brendan.
Brendan, Mr. Brendan Hill. Welcome, sir.
Thank
How are
you.
you doing?
I'm very well considering I woke up early, but I've still got lots of energy to go through the day.
That's good, very good. I'm pleased to hear that you have the energy that we need to make a shot between the reels happen tonight. So, we are thinking about a film. We're not doing any movie news. It's been a very slow movie news week. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the world that's probably vastly more important than movies. So that's fine. But we'll review a film anyway. So, shall we just crack on, Brendan?
That's it.
Let's do it. So, we are going to be reviewing the film, Brendan.
We are reviewing Crawl.
Crawl. Now, I looked up on IMDb. There is a one from, I think, 2010, 2009. This is 2019 Crawl. Just before we
It's
get
always
any
helpful
confusion.
when they make films, with no discernible difference between them, so you have to work out what year it was.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess if there's like a film that no one really saw, and then like 10 years later, there's this amazing film that comes out with that name, like people are like, what is this other film? Yeah, so there you go. So, Brendan, tell us what you gave Crawl out of 5 stars.
So, decisively, I did give Crawl 3 stars. However, I have gone back and forth between 3 and 3.5 stars since. So currently, I'm kind of putting myself midway between those scores.
Okay, I hear you. I'm going to go straight out of 5 stars, 3.5. I'm doing it. I'm going that way. I could have gone 3. I agree with you. But I'm going 3.5.
Interesting.
Do you want to tell us why you undenied and then went on to the 3? Just a quick little tidbit for us.
I think so. Crawl, for those of you that are not aware, is a horror/thriller type film. It is based around this female titular character that we follow. She's going to find her dad in amongst a crazy hurricane that is happening, and it's causing all sorts of problems, dredging up a lot of water, and there's all that kind of going on. She eventually finds said father in the basement of I think it's their old childhood house, and there he's kind of he's got like scratch, hasn't he, or something, like quite a deep wound, basically.
Deep wound on the shoulder.
Yeah. And yet first you don't know what's happening, and then you discover that there are alligators in the basement where he is.
Yes.
At the beginning, only one alligator.
Yeah, because this is set in, I'm assuming, in Florida, right?
Yes, I would assume so. I think so.
I'm pretty certain it was. I mean, I've been to Florida once, and I did see an alligator just like roaming in like
actually?
Yeah, well, kind of at the back of the villa we were staying in. There was like a stream, and it was just like swimming along. It wasn't small.
I mean, it looks, honestly,
it was a good size.
I think that's actually what I really liked about this, because I don't know if you feel the same, but modern horrors, I get the feeling that they often focus on the supernatural. It's fairly popular.
Yeah.
Whereas this, we're kind of saying it more harkens to being like a monster flick almost. It's like the people versus the alligators, and then there's not kind of really any other existential threat other than maybe the storm, really.
Yeah.
But I think the bits that I really liked is that it really feels really close quarters. You definitely feel the tension that's going on throughout the film. It's really built up by the soundtrack, the sounds,
Mm,
the enclosed kind of spaces, the way they use the camera work,
yeah,
all of that stuff I really liked. I think there's some brilliant acting of terrified actors. I mean, they do like such a good job of being
yeah,
that out of breath or just generally kind of like what's gonna happen next. The way
yeah,
they keep amping up the stakes is done very well. That stuff I did really like.
yeah,
I think personally for me, what lets it down, it's sad to say it, but I think probably the special effects aren't always amazing in all places. And I think when you've got something like this, you should probably set the bar as high as possible. I think so much money needs to be pumped into those areas. I know it's you can't always kind of nail it every time, and there are some times when it's really good, and
mm,
the interaction between the characters and the alligators is actually done really well. Some parts of it do look really good, and there's no slight against the acting here. I think it is done
no.
well, but there's just moments where I think it it almost feels goofy. I guess is kind of what I would
Yeah, I think there's an element though that it's got that B movie vibe, hasn't it? It's a
definitely.
little bit, there are moments where it's kind of a bit tongue in cheek
Mm.
and a bit silly, and everyone knows that it's silly and it's fine. Um, I don't mind that. I think it's fun. Um, I think I really liked. I actually thought the special effects were quite good, considering that it's going for that kind of B movie thing. I don't know how much they spent on this film, but I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, I, certainly kind of that sequence at the end where the levy breaks and they're kind of being like crashed through these houses and stuff. I thought that I was quite surprised actually that
Yeah.
they were able to
Yeah.
kind of get all the stuff, having done all the underwater sequences and all that there was still kind of money in the budget, I guess, to kind of do some of this stuff.
Yeah, I think there are
So,
there's definitely some impressive moments, and I think how it ties that all together just it comes across like they really loved what they were doing. And
yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
great. And it must be for an actor to do all of those kind of scenes in water and just being
yeah.
wet all the time. I can imagine that is
It's been
not
tough.
a fun thing to do.
No, no, and she carried that film really well. I mean, like
Mm,
Kaya Scodelario, I'm going to go for.
close.
Say it,
Okay.
say it
Okay.
quickly, and you get it right. Probably. I thought she was really good, actually.
Yeah.
I've not seen kind of or to notice her. I think she's been in stuff I've watched, but I thought she was very good, and actually very convincing as a swimmer. There's no point you think well, she's not a, not an athlete. She actually looks like she could go into a pool and swim pretty quick.
Yeah.
Um, I think she does really well. I like Barry Pepper. I think what a great actor he is. He kind of does these. Usually gets sort of typecast as the bad guy, doesn't he?
Yes,
So it
definitely.
was nice that he just, for a change, they made him the crappy dad instead. uh, but yeah, so I I thought he was great, and that dynamic between the two of them. It's maybe a little predictable, which is probably why you can't. It's not going to get a massively high score because it
No.
is a little predictable.
Yeah.
You kind of know where it's going. Um, Although I did think that they'd kill him off. I thought Dad's going to get it, but he didn't. Uh, so yeah,
Saying that, I think it's got some excellent almost moments. That's what I was going to call them. So
mm,
these moments where you think this person is definitely a goner, and then
yeah,
they're not a goner. They seem to survive above all kind of odds.
yeah,
And I think I like the idea of. I just kept thinking in my mind, pure adrenaline is kind of rushing through their bodies that's somehow
yeah,
just making them survive against these kind of all odds. And
yeah,
it does. It definitely has a moment of it keeps kind of progressively getting worse. Like, how can it get any
yeah,
worse? Oh, look, it can get worse.
yeah, yeah. And actually, like I know I said earlier, it gets a bit silly, but I think they do it quite well. It's not like over the top. We're not talking Sharknado.
No.
Um, it's maybe there is probably a few too many alligators coming along at the end. Mm, it almost works better at the start, or nearer the start when they're first kind of enclosed under the house, where there's one, and then you realise there's two. Like,
Yes, yeah.
actually, that almost works better, and it really reminded me that sequence under the house of the bit in Aliens where Ridley, not Ridley, Ripley even has
Mm,
to go and get Newt, and she's kind of they're in the water.
yeah.
It kind of reminded me a bit of that, and I guess a bit of Alien 4 as well.
Mm.
Just drop a bit of Alien in there. But yeah, I thought it worked. All that, particularly the stuff under the house, was really sort of the tension was really good.
Yeah.
Uh, it builds really well.
I think
Um,
it for me it felt like it had shades of Jurassic Park in it. Really,
mm,
the alligators felt very Velociraptor type,
yeah,
those kind
I
of
like
close
that. Yeah,
quarters. Them facing an odd which they know they're not as fast as these creatures. They know they're not as strong as these creatures, but we're somehow kind of still seeing them face off, and it's an interesting kind of pairing. I think
mm,
the stuff that there was a lot of stuff that kind of made me chuckle. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I kind of actually quite like that in a
yeah,
good horror. So I think, for instance, I know you probably think the same thing, but when you get that moment of the people looting the store and they see them and they think, "Oh, someone to help us, someone to save us," and
yeah,
as I was watching, I was thinking, these people, it's going to be minutes before they are gone. They're going
yeah,
to die in the most horrific way. They paint them as these horrible people, and you think,
yeah,
man,
yeah,
something bad's going to happen here. And in props to the film, the one thing I love about a good horror is they do not disappoint on how they kill people off.
yeah.
Always very satisfying.
Well, I probably spend like a day, don't they, just thinking about how can we, end these people in the most entertaining fashion. Yeah, yeah. No, there was definitely some good kills in there
Yeah.
for the Gators. Um, I was trying to think, kind of. Like, I know you said earlier, kind of like this, like instead of having horrors where it's supernatural, actually you've got this kind of animal threat. Obviously, Jaws is kind of like seems to be probably the touchstone film for that. I
Yeah.
was trying to think, like, what others are there? It's actually quite a rare sort of thing, isn't it, to have these films that where it's actually just an animal, a
Yeah.
regular animal, but anyone could, I guess, come face to face with. Because even films like Anaconda, it's kind of like, yeah, maybe once upon a time there was a snake this big, but you know, on the earth like millions of years ago.
Yeah.
But there's not that many.
No, I don't think so, and maybe with good reason, because you can imagine the work that must be involved in creating the creature, making it
Yeah.
realistic, seeing. I think sometimes you can maybe do more with something that's more based in imagination. When people are looking at supernatural, they don't necessarily need to show the monster. It's more about
Mm,
the feeling. It's more about the jump scares, I guess, having all of that. But what was nice, particularly about this film, I think, as well, is that you can nearly always see the threat there,
yeah.
and the way that they act upon it, they do some interesting things with camera angles, and they show a lot of the emotion always in the actor's face, and
Mm,
the dread and the suspense, and they're kind of building all of that all of the time, and that is the stuff that I did really like. I think that's what does it well. It's just a bit of a shame that the things ultimately that are dragging it down for me are, like you say, the story is it's kind of cookie cutter. I think basically exactly what's going to happen. You see, they paint from the beginning the tension between the family, and then you see how it plays out, and you think you kind of know
yeah.
really what the characters are going to say, even if you don't know exactly the words that are going to come out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And I think that's the stuff where maybe they could have done something a bit more interesting with it. There's no doubt that the horror aspects and the way they're building their tension and the way that they're handling the action scenes is good. I can't fault it. I think I did really enjoy all of that. It's definitely an enjoyable movie watching experience.
Yeah. Now, one of the reasons why we wanted to pick this film to watch was because a certain Quentin Tarantino selected this as his favourite film from
Yeah.
2019, which is why we wanted to sort of check this film out. Why have you got any thoughts of why you think QT gave this one such high praise?
I was racking my brain to remember.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's enjoyable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there is good tension. There's good humour. Maybe QT just likes the easy watch. I mean, he probably missed some films last year.
Yeah.
He must have been really busy. You know, he missed The Irishman or something, and didn't bother with that one. I'm sure. I would have thought he saw Parasite probably in 2019.
You would have thought, right?
So
I think
yeah,
it's possible, like you say, that he liked the easy watch because it is an easy watch. It's fun. There is something inherently kind of just enjoyable about sitting down and critiquing a film like that, which I do love. I think
mm,
he also famously loves a lot of blood in his films, and there is
it's true.
no shortage of that in this film.
Yeah, well, he does like kind of the B movie type stuff, doesn't he?
Definitely
Yeah,
his wheelhouse. So I maybe it just ticks the right boxes for him, and it's an easy kind of recommend. It's definitely not earth-shattering kind of. This is a film that you must see. It's in your wheelhouse. It's the kind of thing that you would have on your shelf. I don't think it's that, but I do think it's something that, again, I guess if someone popped it on and I'd like to kind of just sit and have a good time and maybe
yeah,
critique some of the more silly moments, it's got that.
yeah. I mean, the other thing that he said in that there was that story going around about his best film. I think it was of between 2010 and now.
Mm,
He chose The Social Network,
yeah,
uh, which was another one we ummed and ahed about watching
yeah.
or rewatching. I've watched it a few times, um, and that certainly is a great film. It's probably not my favourite Fincher.
No.
Well, it definitely isn't because Fight Club is, um, and Seven is a masterpiece. So we know Finch is great, and The Social Network is fabulous.
Mm.
Have you got any thoughts on The Social Network?
It's a tough one. I think it's very well done. It's very Fincher. It's got like his stamp all over it,
Hmm.
and I think it paints a darker picture of that story, probably even darker than maybe in reality it probably was.
Yeah.
That's
Apparently, he's a massive QT is a massive fan of Aaron Sorkin as well.
mm,
And obviously, he was on the writing duties.
yeah. So it's I have a bit of a tough relationship with that film. I think I do love it. I think it's really good. There's so much going for it that makes it a standout film. I definitely think it's one of those more you should watch it.
Mm,
Um, Maybe I just have a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth because I think Facebook as a company on a whole it's not a great company, but maybe that's just kind of my
yeah.
feeling about it. I know that's not going to be everyone's.
I think, though, to be fair, like that film kind of was the first time for a lot of people where they thought, "Hey, wait a second, well, I thought Facebook was great
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all good, and like,
yeah.
who is this Mark Zuckerberg guy? I don't like him." Like, and that was the first time people thought, "Who is this guy?" I don't. Yeah, and then it was kind of obviously the last few years he's fallen out of favour with a lot of people.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's honestly props to the actors in that film because they all do such a good job of
mm,
each and every character. They're not in no way at any one of them feeling one dimensional. They give so much depth to each character. You go
yeah,
on kind of a journey with every single one of them, and that
yeah,
is great. The way that the time is kind of hopping around, all of it. You can see.
Yeah,
why it's a firm favourite for a lot of people. It's
definitely.
a
Even
fantastic.
Justin Timberlake, you think he's great in this. He could be,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like, really good. Actually, yeah, to be fair, he's okay.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the first time I saw Andrew Garfield um, in a film, and I think he's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
So, not sure where Jesse Eisenberg is now, but no, he's still making films. But we
Preparing
never,
for another Lex Luthor role.
please no. Is he in? Is he in the Snyder Cut?
Just remove. That's what the cut was. Just removing him.
Just took him out of the script. Oh dear. Anyway, back to Crawl. Any other thoughts that you wanted to share, or shall we just
No, I mean,
summarize where we
yeah,
got to?
I think summarizing is fine. Yeah, it's good. So you go first, Dan.
I'll go first.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of fun. This film, there is great tension, great jump scare moments, particularly the bit under the house and the sort of where they're trapped and injured and trying to get out. Really good. It is a bit predictable, but sometimes an easy watch is what people want, and why not? It's not too long either, so definitely worth checking out. Highly recommend giving it a go, particularly if you don't like horror. Actually, I think this one isn't too horror
Mhm.
for people who don't like horror. They can probably give it a go and still enjoy it. I might see if the missus wants to. No, she won't. She won't want to watch it. But yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5, and yeah, I give it a thumbs up. Brendan,
High
take the
praise.
floor, sir.
So I would say, again, I agree with you in a lot of your sentiments. I think it's an easy watch, and I praise it for that. It's a different type of horror. It's maybe a bit more, I suppose you would class it as a classic horror. It's got some fantastic work from the actors and generally making you believe in the monsters. It does have some goofy moments, which in my mind are probably the bits that more drag it down. Not necessarily a terrible thing, but
Yeah,
I suppose if you wanted to go for one of those annals of history horror films that you can hold up, it doesn't hold against something. Say, for instance, like Jaws. It's not a similar type of film in that
no,
respect. It's being something different, but then you can't completely knock it for that. I think
no,
it does what it does well. I think, and it's definitely got some shock moments. It's got some either brilliantly funny moments or some moments where you think, "Oh my word, was that was that necessary?" But it was fun to watch. I
yeah.
think that's why I go back and forth a bit between the 3 and 3.5 stars. But ultimately, my review remains at 3 stars for
Yeah.
Crawl.
It's the sort of film that I think might even get a bit of a cult following
Oh, definitely.
because it's kind of got that slightly better than average B movie vibe.
Yeah.
It's good. It's definitely good enough
Yes.
to recommend and to watch. So check it out. I know it's on Sky
Mm.
Movies over in the UK. If you want to check it out, um, I think we're going to call it a day there for this week.
Yeah.
We are almost decided a film. I think for next week.
I think so. Yeah, we do have something in mind.
I think we're going to go a bit science fiction again. Go back to a bit of science fiction, which is what we love.
We do. Yeah.
So that should be good. So hit subscribe on YouTube if you want to get on the videos. I'm going to explore trying to do some sort of audio podcast as well if I can. If I can get the time. So we might be on podcasts very soon, hopefully. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. You get to see Brendan's scribbles. Is that what we call them, scribbles?
Yeah, illustrations. You know, you got to be
Oh,
fair.
sorry.
Yeah, come on
Oh,
now.
they're better than scribbles. Illustrations.
That's right, class. That's what I'm talking about.
Top class. Of course they are. Nothing but the best from Brendan. So, yeah, check out Instagram and Twitter for a bit more of our, stuff. keep up to date. Um, we've had fun tonight. I think it's been good to
Yeah.
see you as always, Brendan.
Always great, Dan. Always great.
And hopefully we'll see everybody soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.